Councillors, I would like to draw your attention to the agenda and call this regular meeting of the Council of the Town of Lincoln on December the 16th, 2019 to order. I would ask that everyone stand for the national anthem. Thank you. Please be seated. The next item on the agenda is an acknowledgement of those members of council that are here this evening. Everyone is in attendance, and I'm going to go through the list. First, I will acknowledge Councillor and Deputy Mayor Tony Brunet to my right. To his left is Councillor Pachariva, Councillor Diane Renchema, Councillor Adam Russell. To my left, Councillor Paul McPherson, Councillor Mike Mikulik, Councillor Lynn Timmers, and Councillor Greg Reimer. Clerk this evening is Julie Kirkelos. And we have staff in attendance, as you can see, to my right, and they are here to speak to specific items on the agenda, and I welcome them all. There are no proclamations this evening. Are there any declarations of interest? Councillor Reimer. Oh, I'm sorry. I do that to myself every time. It's Councillor Renchema. I don't seem to know how to count backwards. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm declaring it's a reiteration of a declaration that I declared at the Planning Economic Development meeting. For agenda item 17.9, the official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment. So it's agenda item 17.9 and 17.10, the official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment by Vineland Growers, because the applicant is a client of my Work Niagara Planning Group. So I'll be leaving the room during that discussion if there is.
Thank you very much, Councillor. And now, Councillor Reimer.
Thank you, Mayor Eason. I'll be declaring interest excuse me, on item 17.12. The applicants are Irene James Bucknell. 2019-122 is the application. They're a customer of the company that I work for.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'll read the safety notice. In the event of an emergency, please evacuate council chambers to the nearest exit through the chamber doors and obey all instructions given, and if assistance is required, please see the clerk. Once you have evacuated the building, please gather in the front parking lot outside of Town Hall. Also reminding you that the Town of Lincoln Committee and Council meetings are posted on our YouTube channel, and I would like to thank all members of the public for attending the meeting this evening. And I just want to remind everyone for our of our rules for engagement to please be respectful while others are speaking, and although sometimes it's hard to control, please refrain from clapping. Thank you. The Shononton people have called these lands home for thousands of years, and more recently, the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee have been sharing the land as one dish, one spoon treaty territory. We would like to acknowledge the enduring resilience of the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people who call this territory home. Well, this evening, it is very appropriate, I think, for us to have some recognitions and achievements from time to time, and we do have employees at the town of Lincoln who are at the 30-year mark, which is pretty remarkable. And I don't know now, I've forgotten how long I've known Veronica Reiser, but she started working in the old Vineland Library when it was on First Avenue, and it was called the Rittenhouse Library, and it's now the Niagara Academy of Tennis. That was September the 11th, 1989. And at the time, the library shared the building with the tennis club. Veronica also worked at the old Jordan Library. In the mid-1990s, in addition to her work helping the public, Veronica took over organizing the Lincoln Public Library art shows, having been on the executive of the former Lincoln's Regional Arts Council. And she continues to coordinate the shows, which are standing displays at both Lincoln Public Library locations. Veronica also became the library's first employee whose specialty is local history. And I can tell you that the town has benefited immensely because of her commitment and her ongoing interest. The collection at the Moses F. Rittenhouse Library in Vineland has flourished under her supervision, and people contact her from all over to ask questions about Lincoln and Niagara history. Veronica is active in the community as a member of the Museum Volunteer Association Board and Friends of Lincoln's History archives. So it gives me great pleasure, Council, to ask Veronica to come up and receive a certificate from the town, but I think I have to go back and read the rules that the clerk has laid out for me. Just a moment, I'm just checking for a motion.
No, there's no motion.
Okay.
If you read through all this,
Yeah, that's fine, okay. There is no specific motion. All right, Veronica, let's do this. Councilor Brunei, would you please join me? Are you going to tell us a story, Veronica, about your life? I hope you are.
I hadn't planned on it, no.
Let's just step back a bit, and it is our great pleasure to present you with this, Veronica. Is it true that you only came and thought you'd work for 6
Oh,
months or
yeah,
something?
about that. I thought, oh, yeah, I'll do this for a while and do something else, and I'm still here.
Well, it's a great testimony to the town, I think, that you would stay. So celebrating a 30-year milestone, thank you, Veronica Reiser, recognition of 30 years of public service to the town of Lincoln.
Oh, thank you very much. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. I've really enjoyed every year.
Good, that's good.
Thank you.
We'll just have a quick picture that's turned this
Okay,
around
so we've
everybody
got it.
everyone can appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to move on now to item number 8, which is a motion to approve council minutes. Council minutes of November 18th, 2019. I have a motion. Moved by Councilor Njima and seconded by Counselor, well, I'm not too sure whose signature this is. Counselor Brunei, well, that, your signature does look different. All right, I have a motion moved by Counselor Rajima, seconded by Counselor Brunei. Approve the minutes of the following meetings of council. Council minutes of November 18th, 2019. Your pleasure on the motion. All those in favor? None opposed. The motion is carried. We have no delegations this evening. We move on to item 10, which is correspondence, and there is no correspondence this evening. And we will now consider items 11.1 through 11.9. And I would like to call upon the CAO at this time to provide comments pertaining to item 11.9, Committee of the Whole Budget Meeting Minutes. Mr. Kirkopoulos?
Through you, Madam Mayor, and to council. Good evening this eve. Good evening. I do want to provide some comments following up on our Committee of the Whole budget approval last week of our budget. And members of council will know that I did send an email out a short while ago in terms of the budget and wanting to provide a budget update for members of the public, the media, staff, and council that are here this evening. As a number of councillors know, over the last 3 to 4 days, and I do want to acknowledge that Terry Cherwala is here with us this evening. She was on a medical leave for a few weeks now. She is back specifically for this event for tonight's budget. But Terry and I have been going back and forth while she is recuperating. And over that last 3 or 4 days, answering a number of councillor inquiries, of course, and working with senior staff as we look at the budget and trying to bring forward a budget that I think council meets council expectations, tries to address the expectations that council has, the strategic directions that council wants to go in, and at the same time maintain the level of service that we look to amend and look to bring forward on a very regular basis. One of the exercises we went through and that I went through over the weekend and the last number of days with staff was looking at each of the projects, looking at, are we maximizing funding? Is there any additional funding that we can potentially look at? And what we do have before you is a slight amendment to the budget that was approved last Wednesday, which stood cumulatively, including the 1.5% levy at 6.9. What you have before you is a budget that is currently sitting at 5.99. It has come down since that time, and I just want to briefly speak to what we did over the last number of days to get that budget down to the level where it currently is at. As I said, we did look at all projects. We looked at were we maximizing funding sources for each of those projects. There was one in particular. Council will recall a number of months ago, we did receive some funds that we put into a reserve, and one of the things we had earmarked for those funds was gateway signage. We did have a project on our capital program, capital project number 3 specifically, that was titled Wayfinding Signage QEW. That was a $75,000 project, and we are, at this particular time, recommending that instead of looking to levy dollars to support that project, that we actually look to the Gateway Reserve to fund that project. The second area that we looked at was specifically around some operating costs, and we do have some vacancies in the organization. We do have a new FTE that we are looking at, an FTE meaning a full-time equivalent. That is our Term and Economic Development Coordinator position, and what we looked at was when we would realistically be able to fill those positions, and was there some dollars additionally to save. So between those two projects and those two initiatives, we were able to decrease the budget impact, and we currently sit at 5.99. Again, I can answer any more questions that council may have, but I thought it prudent, I think staff thought it prudent as we look at the budget, as we look at the way we deliver services and the levy impact to continue to, I think, sharpen our pencils over the weekend. I would say typically we don't necessarily do that, but with some of the questions that came forward from council, I thought it prudent. And so before you, you have a motion approving a new set of numbers a new impact. I will highlight for members of council that that does bring our blended rate with the 5.92 that the region approved last week to a blended rate of 5.3%.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. CEO. We'll go forward now to put this motion on the table. Budget Chair, I'm looking to you now to bring forward the amended motion with the new numbers from December the 11th, which also reflect the CAO's clarifications of a few moments ago, and also any comments that you have on the strengths of this budget.
Okay, thank you very much, Your Worship.
Oops.
There we go. Thank you very much. Good evening, Your Worship, fellow councillors, town staff, residents, and members of the media. Tonight, as Chair of the Budget Committee, it is my pleasure to present the 2020 budget for the town of Lincoln. Financial planning is a critical exercise for all municipalities, and that is no different for our town. We are one of the fastest-growing municipalities in the region. As our population grows, we have and will continue to develop the necessary infrastructure, like roadways, bridges, water and sewer systems. We will build needed facilities like parks, and we invested in regional services, which have us on the cusp of our on-demand transit system to hit the ground running in the spring of 2020. We work diligently to make balanced decisions, to make the right strategic investments so that our growing population has a great town in which to live, work, and play. And research shows that our residents agree. Lincoln is known as a municipality of choice. People choose to make our town their home. We worked hard to earn this reputation, and we are proud to have this distinction. But we cannot and must not rest on our laurels. Now, more than ever, we have to make the strategic choices and work to set the course for a sustainable future. We want our youngest residents, those who are going to school here, skating at our 2020 New Year's levee at the Fleming Center, and playing in the future Rotary Park, to choose to make Lincoln their home when the time comes for them to raise a family. This was our guiding premise throughout our budget deliberations. It was based on future growth. We started an aggressive infrastructure renewal plan 15 years ago to replace our aging cast iron water mains, and I'm proud to note that none remain. We will now systematically replace the cement line infrastructure next. We understand the importance of these necessary upgrades to sustain sound environmental practices and ensure we are protecting our town and our region for generations to come. Our wastewater system is at the point of being self-sustaining, and we will only see small increases to the fixed portion of each amounting to $20 a year or 5 cents a day. We are committing $7.5 million for the necessary water main upgrades to unlock the potential of the Prudhoe lands that have sat desolate for years. It's a budget based on future growth. I'm pleased to announce tonight that we will continue to contribute to our Infrastructure Reserve Fund. We are among one of the few municipalities in the province to do so. This year, we will continue to invest $240,000 or 1.5% to the reserve. As a town in a strong financial, fiscal position, now is the time to plan for the future. In creating our reserve fund 3 years ago and continuing to make annual contributions, we are reducing the burden on those who choose to make Lincoln their home in the years ahead and keeping ahead of the continued cut to the provincial OMPF funding. It is our goal to continue to invest in this fund as budgeting permits. This is sound fiscal management. I'm very proud that we are investing in people in our 2020 budget. We are going to be providing a living wage to our school crossing guards, the ones that ensure safe passage of our children to and from school, and increasing our pay to our volunteer firefighters from 1 hour to 2 hours, and doing so incrementally and cost-effectively. And these are the people that protect our homes and our families. Budget 2020 presents a plan for meeting the needs of the town today while setting the course for a sustainable future. In developing this budget, each and every expenditure was carefully reviewed. Thoughtful consideration was given to essential investments, and deliberate attention was given to future requirements. As chair of the Budget Committee, I extend sincere thanks to senior staff and Mr. Kirkopoulos for their dedicated work in preparing the budget. I also thank Council for their guidance and support to this year's budget process. The town of Lincoln is an energetic municipality, which our residents and all of us on council are proud to call home. And Budget 2020 sets the course to ensure this continues for generations to come.
Thank you very much, Chair Pachariva. And I want to thank you in advance for the sustained effort that you put into this budget, because budget doesn't start at the end of the year, it starts in the early spring, if not before, and so it's a pretty long haul for everybody that's involved.
Thank you, Worship.
All right, now, you have a motion?
I do.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Pachariva and seconded by Councillor Russell. I'm going to entertain questions once it's on the table. Seconded by Councillor Russell, that whereas the Council of the Town of Lincoln has evaluated the operational requirements for the Town of Lincoln to ensure the efficient delivery of municipal services to the ratepayers of the Town of Lincoln, now therefore be it resolved that the 2020 capital budget expenditures of $31,226,987 be approved. And further, that the 2020 operating budget be approved with a tax levy requirement of $17,876,487 for local municipal purposes. And further, that the Council of the Town of Lincoln direct staff to prepare the annual taxation levying bylaw as required by the Municipal Act 2001 upon the setting of the tax ratios and the requisition amounts by the Regional Municipality of Niagara and other applicable bodies. Your pleasure on the motion. All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for stopping me. We're going to entertain questions now. And I have Councillor McPherson. Please go ahead, Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I just wanted to make a comment to acknowledge the work that the CAO and the staff have done, especially in the 11th hour, putting together the numbers, as I was certainly one of the counselors that was pushing and making some inquiries. I think it was important for us to get further down to the number that we've got to. I know it was a stretch from where the budget started, but I think it was important, especially in light of what we now know about the blended rate and what was coming out of the region and their late ads. I think it was key for us to make sure that we took another hard look at where we were last Wednesday, and it absolutely is not normal to approve a budget and then en route to ratification we start to make some more cuts. But appreciate the staff digging in and getting us to where we are tonight. So I would request, and I think this should be for every budget, I would request a recorded vote tonight.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much, Councillor, and very appropriate, and thanks for your comments. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll then on the motion? Just a moment. Councillor Miklick, your name just came up now. Did you wish to speak before the roll is called?
Yeah, I was going to.
I'm sorry, it wasn't there. I wasn't ignoring you.
No, that's fine.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Mr. Kirkopoulos. I too appreciate the effort. The budget was presented to us last Wednesday. And, fortunately for ourselves, we have this second opportunity should we have had any second thoughts. And I too is one of those counselors concerned about the number and, that we settled on and whether or not we could do better with it. And I'm going to ask this question, if are we at the end of the ropes here? Like if there was, like people are expecting, it's all relative to percentages. Everyone's looking at percentages. If we were to try to drop that down further, what sort of sacrifices, what sort of things would we have to put on the table to ask ourselves, do we need this? Do we want this? Can we, what sort of sacrifices or what sort of projects, things could we look at to further drop that down, should any of us here feel that the 599 is not enough?
And I just need some clarification, Counselor. When would you do that if you didn't do it tonight? Do you have a motion that you would like to put forward for our consideration?
Not until I know what the result of the vote that we're tabling right now would be.
Okay, so the question that you're asking, that we would ask the clerk is, once a budget is approved, is there a mechanism for reconsideration of a budget?
Correct.
All right, Madam Clerk, can you help us with that?
Madam Mayor, through you, a reconsider of an item is brought forward by a member who voted in the majority. So a reconsideration would be brought forward after tonight. Any member of council can bring forward a reconsideration in the term of council. So that could be brought forward after.
Okay, so the operative words here is that anyone who has voted in the majority. Okay, thank you very much. Does that help you, Counselor?
Somewhat. It's just, my thinking is that should we not approve, or should there be a close vote, or should this not be approved as it currently is, would we have to table a motion to defer this to be viewed or reviewed and brought forward at a later date?
Okay, well, you've spoken to the motion, so you can't defer it. I don't know whether there's anyone else that would want to defer it. I think if a deferral is being requested, we should be entertaining that now. So I'll ask the question. If there's any member of council who wishes to defer this motion. Okay, Madam Clerk, I'm just going to state again then, once the vote just for clarification, we will vote on this regardless of the outcome. If the motion passes, a councillor who has voted in the affirmative can bring it forward in the future, part of it, bring part of it forward for reconsideration. Am I correct?
So a member who has voted, if you wanted to bring back a reconsideration of an item that's been previously voted on, it's in section 43 of your procedural bylaw. So any motion that has been voted on can be brought back as previously voted on. So that could be happening at any time. That person would have to bring forward a written motion, and it would be a notice of motion. So it would have to be brought forward at another time. Otherwise, tonight we are voting on the amended motion as Councillor Pachariva has put on the floor. If council wishes to put forward a motion to refer back to staff to delay the ratification of this budget, we can also consider that. So if you wanted to put forward a vote that you would like to defer the motion, we can do that, have that voted on. If that fails, we go forward with the amended motion as Councillor Pachariva has put on the floor.
All right, Madam Clerk, I've already asked for that. I've already asked council for that, and there was nothing coming forward. So, Councillor, your pleasure on the motion? All those in favor? The clerk has the motion. Thank you.
When I call out your names, please declare your vote as in favor or opposed. I'll begin with Councillor Brunet. Opposed or in favor? In favor. Councillor McPherson. Opposed or in favor?
In favor.
In favor. Councillor Miklick. Opposed or in favor?
In favor.
Councillor Pachariva. You have moved the motion. Opposed or in favor?
In favor.
Councillor Reimer. Opposed or in favor?
In favor.
Counselor Rajima, opposed or in favor? In favor. Counselor Russell, opposed or in favor? In favor. Counselor Timmers, opposed or in favor? In favor. In favor. Madam Mayor, opposed or in favor?
In favor.
And that motion carries.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a few comments myself as this budget has been approved. I would say to you, as the mayor of the town of Lincoln, that this is a budget that supports a period of increasing growth in population, which is certainly the message that Chair Pachariva gave to you earlier. But that growth also comes with the need for infrastructure management and community programming, park development, all of which will peak over the next 10 to 12 years. That growth carries with it a certain level of calculated moderate risk that depends on council's management of most things within and some beyond our control. The sky is not falling as long as we have a plan and we execute it with discipline. Growth carries with it a demand for modernization and transformation, which speaks to our habits in saving and in acquiring and using efficient systems and technology. Improving communication access and methods with you, our citizens, and with business. While we embrace the growth that will strengthen our community and enrich our culture, as every generation of new families and businesses have over the last 50 years, we are proud to be the fourth fastest growing and the fourth most efficient in the Niagara region, and well along in the implementation of a financial sustainability plan that involves investments, long-term borrowing, building reserves, and ensuring that growth continues to pay for growth through development charges. In addition, we are not just filling building spaces with boxes. We are responding by building complete communities that are accessible to downtowns by walking, cycling, transportation, and cars to ever-improving retail choices. Beamsville has improved tremendously, and the Vineland community is looking forward and ready to be engaged to rebuild the local downtown economy and its availability to the entire town. Prudhome's will be incentivized to include more boutique offerings as well as a community that is high quality built to adapt to climate change. Jordan Village will broaden culturally with the new museum and cultural gateway and the robust retail on Main Street enhanced by the major investment in road safety, parking, and walkability. Every mayor and council believes they can make a difference in their community. Lincoln is building on its shared vision of grow, prosper, and belong. You are growing your families, building your businesses because growth can occur now with less effort and better return on investment. You are looking for more choices for shopping, for better quality stores and restaurants, and we are creating the climate for those investments. We prioritize on literacy, on culture, and on open spaces. We look to the quality of your life and to a better future for you and your families. Together, we are moving Lincoln closer to reaching our vision of growth, prosperity, and belonging, and it is an endorsement for the generational focus on our children, the elderly, whose greatest desire is to grow older where they know their neighbors and where people care about them. With this financial forecast, we will take that spirit and the discipline to follow and execute the plan and continue to provide high-quality service to you into the next year. Thank you. Now, we need to go back. We've dealt with 11.9, and now we are going to deal with a motion for items 11.1 through 11.8. I have a motion moved by Councillor Njima and seconded by Councillor Brunet. Approve the following recommendations from standing committees. Committee of the Whole, Budget Meetings Minutes of November 13th, 2019. Planning and Economic Development Committee minutes of November 20th, 2019. Committee of the Whole, budget minutes of November 27th, 2019. General Business and Finance Committee minutes of December the 2nd, 2019. Committee of the Whole, budget minutes of December the 2nd, 2019. Committee of the Whole, workshop minutes of December 4th, 2019. Community Services and Infrastructure Committee minutes of December the 4th, 2019. Planning and Economic Development Committee minutes of December the 9th, 2019. Committee of the Whole budget minutes of December the 11th, 2019. Are there any questions? Your pleasure on the motion, those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. We are now considering item 12.1, the Regional Councillor Update. I see Councillor Foster is with us this evening. Please come forward, Councillor. I believe everyone has a copy of Rob's presentation for this evening.
Good evening, Mayor Easton, councillors, staff here in the town of Lincoln. Congratulations for passing your second budget in a year. It's a monster job, to say the least. We've gone through this at Niagara Region as well. Spent a lot of time over the last couple of months going through dealing with all sorts of issues. I admire Mayor Easton's commentary post you guys having passed this because to be perfectly frank, it all applies to Niagara Region as well. Lots of issues on the table, lots of big ticket items that we've had to deal with this year as well. So just I'll start in, and so as mentioned earlier, the regional levy has come in the 5.92% increase. Regional departments actually held their own quite well. They came in at approximately 1% across the board. But there was a wide variety of pressures that hit the region this year. A little bit different than the municipality. Some of the downloading that was seen from the province directly hit the region and is hitting the region into this upcoming year. Big capital funding requirements, long-term care facilities, major ones in Fort Erie and St. Catharines are going to be built. And new programs. So I just want to again congratulate. I was here the other evening on the discussion about transit. I think it's an excellent move the town is doing. Both myself and Mayor Easton supported this particular program at the region as well. The in-demand or the on-demand methodology for transit. But that and a wide variety of other things around transit are coming into play. So again, we have new programs that are required in some of those areas. And of course, growth is a major issue as well around the regional table. ABC increases were kind of interesting this year. The single biggest area that we have where budget comes into play is the Niagara Regional Police. They came in with about 5.3%, which was fairly significant. My question during the budget presentations with the Chief of Police was, okay, is this it? Like, have you guys righted the ship at this particular point in time? We were assured that that was the case, so we'll see as we get into budget next year where the Niagara Regional Police are leading us to. I also make mention tonight, and I just want to briefly talk about the Ombudsman's report. Obviously, and being on council with most of you last term as well, always a topic of interest, what was going on at the region. I think this particular report has very clearly shown the issues that were happening, or at least some of them. Some of the issues that our former councillor, Bill Hodgson, had to deal with, as well as my seatmate, Kelly Edgar and Brian Height. Not a good scenario, but I think the Ombudsman report was terrific. It clearly laid out areas that, or clearly laid out a story that all of us need to take a good look at. I think there's going to be municipal papers written for years off of that particular report. What I do want to point out is that our meeting, we had a special council meeting, and coming out of that, there were two major motions. One is to move that report on to the police. That will be an interesting analysis that's done by the police. It has now been moved to the OPP, I might add. I had a long talk with a police friend of mine, and they did point out to me it's going to be fascinating. There's a huge difference between immoral and illegal. So we are going to see whether or not what actually happened was illegal. All of us can, I think, clearly say ethically there was some challenges this last time around. I also put on to my report for you the commentary. We're basically not going to be talking about much in the next while. There's an awful lot of legal stuff that's going to be going on in the background on the civil side. So we're hoping we'll be having various reports that are coming in the new year. A couple of other quick things. I had the opportunity to be at Niagara Region today for the sod turning for the new Canada Games facility. It was an indoor sod turning. That was kind of neat. But I was there with, I think, just about every major politician in Niagara, as well as the key organizers of the Canada Summer Games. I think it's a real good starting point for us in that particular area, and of course Lincoln is actively involved. Mayor Easton was given recognition for the town and the fact that you know, we have come to the table as well as a municipality. So, and the only other thing I wanted to state to all of you tonight is season's greetings to all of you. Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. You guys have done one heck of a good job this year, you know, even without me at the table. And I'm hoping that we're moving in the right direction at the region. I feel very blessed to have been provided the opportunity to be the regional councillor for our town as we've been going through a lot of the items, and I can confidently say we're making progress on a wide variety of areas, and better days are coming for all of us. So on that note, I'm okay to take questions.
Thank you very much. Councillors? I have Councillor Njima.
Oh, I changed my mind. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm wondering about, you may not have this detail, but the incentives that were in place for community improvement plans, what happened in this budget? Was there a big change, did a lot change? Can you tell me later if you don't know that right now?
Oh, sure, if you want.
Okay.
Thank you, Julie. So there's a wide variety of incentive programs that do come through the region for our municipality. There's brownfield grants, there's a wide variety of other things. Dave and the team are up to date on all of that. It was the SNP program that was on the table to be reviewed. Mayor Easton and I voted the same way on this particular issue. We kind of think that that particular program has ran its course, but the other municipalities made a strong case that it should still stay in place. So we shall see. This is one of these areas that at Niagara Region we have to take a real good look at. We have to understand very well the must-have versus the nice-to-have. Again, that's one of those programs that needs to be rethought. Staff, we had a KPMG report, by the way, that had suggested we eliminate it. There was no substantive gain that was seen with it within the region. However, it's always been one of those nice-to-have programs. So anyway, but as far as your community improvement programs and stuff like that, everything is pretty much status quo.
Okay, so can I ask a question of clarification, Madam
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
So that has been removed from the budget for 2020, the SNP incentives?
No, the SNP incentives were put back in. They were being removed, and then the case was made by a number of councillors to put it back in.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Foster.
Yep.
Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Rob, for the regional update and a request. I know that you're meeting with our town staff on various projects, and I wonder if for January's update, if you wouldn't mind sharing some of the focus that you've got on those Lincoln projects that are regional in nature. And I think that would be of interest to certainly the council here, as well as to our residents, to find out what is the latest and what are we focused on to get done through the region.
Sure.
Okay,
ahead.
thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead, Chair Foster.
No, that's
Do
it.
You'll
Sure.
bring it. Okay.
One word, sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I don't see any other speakers. I want to thank you, Councillor Foster, for the amount of work that you've put into being the regional councillor for the town of Lincoln. It's very obvious that there's no, that you're not invisible and that you're working really hard. And I would say that I'll be surprised if you don't have quite a good story to tell us about the projects as well. I have appreciated you bringing some of the more complex issues forward, because these things also impact us one way or the other. We may not be fully involved in them, but there are repercussions if we start going down roads that impact us. And I would say that the decision around SNP is probably one of the biggest examples of that, because there were a number of municipalities that were able to tell us in numbers the positive impact that these programs have had. I think probably the city of Thorold has the most exemplary example of what happens when you have an entrepreneur and incentive programs available. I mean, the entire town was rebuilt on those grants, and the buildings that were torn down. I think, except in the case of one or two buildings, the facades were completely rebuilt. It really is quite an outstanding example. But I also want to add that I spoke that night to the issue of Prudhome's and the importance of us building communities that are climate adaptable. I think that Councillor Reimer said it very well at one of our meetings when he noted that the building code will provide you with the minimum requirement, no question about it. However, I don't think that we went forward with a secondary plan for Prudhoms, not once, but twice, if we didn't feel that there was a very special piece of property there, including the waterfront. And we definitely need to look to the CIP grants to make sure that we make the best use of that, to incentivize a much higher quality of building from a community perspective. So I appreciate that, but also we'll look forward to your progress on our capital budget, as Councillor McPherson suggests. Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas to you, and
I would say it's been fascinating for Mayor Easton and I to work together on behalf of Lincoln down at Niagara Region. I've been very fortunate moving into the corporate services chair position, and I have been kind of in the middle of many of the things that are going on down at Niagara Region. And both Mayor Easton and myself, as well as many other councillors, have taken great steps to go and make sure we're seen and understood down at the region. I regularly meet with our regional chair to make sure that we see the things coming out of Lincoln and we understand the things that are going on at the region that are important to us. So. Yeah, there's an awful lot of things, and in fact, I think where Sandra and I also agree on these programs is that they have to be focused and they have to be there to help with our with the economic development pieces that we really truly need. And to be quite honest, I think this next year is going to be an area where economic development is really under the gun at Niagara Region. I think it's one of those areas that has been left to fallow far too long, so and so we'll move on from there. But anyway, thank you very much for your kind words, Mayor Easton.
thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you and to Sue. We now move on to item number 13, and I call on Councillor Adam Russell. Yes, okay. I have a motion. Moved by Councillor Njima and seconded by Councillor Russell to receive and file the update from Regional Councillor Foster on December 16th, 2019. Your pleasure on the motion. All those in favor, none opposed, the motion is carried. Okay, now we'll move on to item 13, which is Councillor Russell's to speak to as his notice of motion. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Over the last year and a half in Ward 1 in particular, we have heard a lot from residents in ebbs and flows about a rodent issue in certain neighborhoods. So I'm very happy to, with the support of my ward mate, Councillor Njima, to bring forward in February a motion that would seek staff to consult with the Regional Public Health Department and see if there's any alternatives or best practices that might be brought forward, and also to seek some consultation with other municipalities. They may have similar programs, again, to help reduce the impact on our residents. So, again, I know that over the years this has come up numerous times, or at least a few times. I know our bylaw has done a great job in trying to maintain and clean up yards. And I think it has an impact, and I'm very happy and thankful for Public Works for documenting some of the calls that have come in to kind of plot some of the areas that might be hotspots. But again, I think we need a little more direct intervention, so I'm happy to bring this program forward that will hopefully at least address somewhat and mitigate some of the issues that some of our residents are feeling. So that will be coming forward in February.
Very good. Thank you very much, Councillor. Item number 14 is a motion to receive and file council information. Madam Clerk, do you have any motions on your table? Okay. I have a motion moved by Councillor Brunet and seconded by Councillor Njima. Receive and file the following council information packages. All of these were available online. Council Information Package, November 15th, 2019, November 22nd, 2019, November 29th, 2019, December 6th, 2019. Does anybody have any items in any of these packages that you wish to speak to? Your pleasure on the motion. All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Councillor Mikulik.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, probably to Mr. Graham, regarding the correspondence on the 29th, there's some information regarding e-scooters. I'm just curious if we're looking at that as a municipality. When would we look at that? How are we approaching that? What, 5 questions for one tonight, but how are we looking at that e-scooter plan?
Mr. Graham?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor. It is something that we're in conversations with the region. So the region's sort of kind of taken the lead on this, the transportation team. So we're hoping to chat at our next work group meeting, internal staff meeting with the region on that. So it is something we're monitoring. I don't really have any specific information to share at this point in time, but be happy to report back in the near future.
And point on, and just that we are looking at it, and we are looking into that. And then, if I may, with regards to one more item on that date, there was regarding TC Energy and upgraded meter houses for, I believe it's natural gas. Has there been any notice? Is there any threat to the general public? Is there any risk? Is there any notice that we should be giving to area residents? Is there any, I'm just not sure exactly what that pertains to, or what sort of upgrades. It sounds like a pretty involved upgrade to the meter house and everything else around there. I'm not sure if Director Graham would know.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor. At this point in time, you know, what we know about that work, we're not anticipating that. I think, you know, whether there's going to be more notification coming, it's something I need to look in further, and I can report back, but I don't really have too much information on that at the moment to share.
Okay, fair enough. I was just putting that out there to see if there is any possible dangers or warnings that we should give the general public. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Council McPherson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And through you, I believe to the CAO, and this letter is from a package that was 4 weeks ago, so it's not new by any means. It's a letter from the province of November 12th. It's the modernization, the municipal modernization program, and the $125 million that's coming available through 2022, 2023 for small and rural municipalities. And I wonder if through the CAO we couldn't get an update, or we could get an update on our application, as this is closed as of the 6th of December. So I think it's timely to see what we were able to do and what projects and what maybe the dollar requests were for that particular item. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor, please go ahead, Mr. CAO.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, and I don't have at the top of mind the exact amount of the applications, but the councillor is right. On December 6th, we did submit 2 applications, and the municipal modernization program, as we reported back late in November, does make funds available for municipalities to undertake those expenditure reviews and service reviews in terms of looking at efficiencies and lowering costs in the longer term. So we did submit 2 applications, an enterprise-wide customer service review, something that we've talked about before with council, something that we've had on the books, but we're looking for funding in terms of how to move that forward. And that does include a review of municipal customer service across all lines of business, and how we interact and reach out to all stakeholders. Key deliverables in that particular project were really focused on service modernization, a roadmap to achieving that culture of service excellence that we've often talked about with council. The second was a fleet management review, and that really is looking to some external third-party expertise to assist us with the integration and streamlining of the data gathering process and provide consultation on how we can optimize the efficiency of our fleet. I believe the fleet was about $70,000 in terms of that application, and I will look to staff, Ms. McKay or Ms. Trawala, to provide the details on the customer service costs.
Ms. McKay, do you have that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the CAO, yes, I do. It was $85,000 we put in for the review.
85,000?
85,000.
Thank you. Councillor McPherson?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, and I think that those are two outstanding projects. You know, I think we've identified, you know, a customer service on-purpose strategy for, you know, a couple of years, and, you know, good to hear that that is a request, and if we can get those funds to get that done and, you know, maybe make an impact that way from a customer service standpoint, and also, you know, apropos that we've got the budget finalized tonight, and we're going to look at a fleet review. So very good, very timely. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Excellent. Councillor Mikulik, your question about the e-scooters, I wasn't sure if you had read, there's an article in a recent, maybe the last 3 months of Municipal World that speaks more broadly about that issue. I'll just direct you to that if you want to have a look at it. It was quite informative, actually. All right, no other questions on the board. So all of those, all in favor of the motion, your pleasure. All in favor, none opposed, the motion is carried. We have no confidential items this evening. And item 17 is a motion to approve bylaws. We have 12 bylaws this evening. With some members who have pecuniary interests, we will separate out those bylaws for approval. Okay, the clerk has separated them out. One is related to Councillor Reimer, one is related to Councillor Renchima. All right, I have a motion moved by Councillor Brunet and seconded by Councillor Pachariva that leave be given to approve the following bylaws. 2019-111, Fees and Charges 2020 bylaw. 2019-112, Water and Wastewater Rates and Charges 2020 bylaw. 2019-113, Regional Operation of Town of Lincoln Municipal Cemeteries Name Amendment. 2019-114, Authorized Site Plan Agreement with 2398804 Ontario, Inc. 2019-115, Authorize the execution of a subdivision agreement with 2410002 Ontario, Inc., Vista Ridge, Phase 2. 2019-116-Z543, Zoning Bylaw Amendment, remove the H for Cherry Heights Extension. 2019-117, Z544, Zoning Bylaw Amendment, remove H for Vista Ridge Phase 1, is referred back to staff for further review. 2019-118, amend the interim control bylaw cannabis. 2019-121, procedural bylaw. Are there any other All right, just as a note, under 2019-117, my comment regarding, referred back to staff for further review, this is the remove of the H for Vista Ridge Phase 1. There's going to be, I believe that a counselor is going to speak to it. So just keep that in mind, and I'll ask now if there are any questions regarding any of the bylaws on this list. Counselor Timmers.
Thank you, Mary Easton. I don't really have a question, just a comment to 17.3. A few months back, the Heritage Committee took a bus tour, and it came to our attention that the cemetery up on Conkle Road was not named accurately. Mary Lugar had some information. And I just wanted to thank Shannon McKay and Jennifer Sheldon for getting to work on that and visiting the Lincoln Archives, and the name is going to be restored to its original name, so I'm really pleased to see that tonight. So thank you very much to staff for working on that.
Very good. Thank you very much. And now, Councillor Brunet.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, over the last 24 hours or so, I sent out a couple of emails to the CAO and to the Director of Planning. So, this isn't meant to be confrontational or argumentative, but I just want to, through you, Madam Mayor, maybe ask the Director of Planning if she can comment. So, I came here tonight wanting to really learn more about what the zoning bylaw amendment to remove the H for Vista Ridge was, but in talking to the Director, Madam Mayor, I understand that possibly we have more leverage in maybe discussing the authorization of the execution of the subdivision agreement with Vista Ridge Phase 2. So through you, Madam Mayor, my comments here really are that, for quite some time, we have a developer that is developing Vista Ridge, and as most councilors are aware, within that development, we have Prokich Park. And as most councilors are aware, Prokich Park was promised in our ward meeting that we would have that park built in June of 2019, and obviously we've missed that milestone for a number of reasons. We can't control when two developers are in dispute over a land, so we were waiting, and we've been working with the developer now to try to facilitate the build of Prokich Park. Within that park, we have a mountain of dirt. And I believe our community services director and our CAO have been heavily involved with this developer to try to get that dirt moved. When we took a tour in the late fall, Madam Mayor, we were told by the person building the park that they would be unable to do the work on the south end of the park until that dirt got moved. Very quickly, our staff got working with that and found homes for that dirt. And it was my understanding, Madam Mayor, that this dirt was going to be moved to facilitate the work on the park on the south end that would need to take place in the spring of 2020. That mountain of dirt is still there. And through you, Madam Mayor, I would like the director to speak to, what leverage we have. I certainly don't want to put us in a legal repercussion, anything like that. But I'm just quite honestly, Madam Mayor, through you to the director, I've lost faith in this developer in the fact that, we've been promised and promised and promised, and this mountain of dirt remains. And quite honestly, when we come back in the spring of 2020, the park builder cannot do anything because that dirt is there. We cannot move forward with that work on the south end of the park. They have worked diligently this fall to do the work on the north end with the splash pad and the paths and the tree planting, and I take my hat off to everyone involved in that. But we're at a stalemate, and so through you, Madam Mayor, I would like the director just to kind of speak to, from her perspective, the road that we possibly could go, and any advice on where not to go, and areas that we're maybe going down a slippery slope. And if maybe possibly the CEO could speak to it after the director, I would appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I'm going to first ask the clerk if there's any reason from the description that the counselor has given that we should be going in camera.
I'd like to first ask staff to address Councillor Bernay, and if the CAO feels that we need to, then we can definitely do that.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Ms. Dale?
Through you, Madam Mayor, in regards to the councillor's question, so there's two bylaws relating to the Lizani development, Vista Ridge Phase 1 and Vista Ridge Phase 2 on the agenda tonight. So the bylaw to remove the holding provision, there's two blocks of land within Vista Ridge Phase 1 that are being developed through a site plan approval process because they're block townhouses. So for those two blocks, the holding provision was put in place until such time as they go through a site plan approval process. For the most westerly block, they have already, they've already been granted, actually for both blocks, they've been granted what's referred to as a pre-servicing approval as part of their site plan approval. So that allows them to actually go in and put in their private servicing, and that's done through the issuance of a building permit. So a building permit has been issued for the westerly block for them to go ahead and do their servicing. They've been granted pre-servicing approval for the other block, but they have not yet started that. So if the holding provision isn't removed, what it does is it delays the issuance of building permits for those two blocks. In regards to the subdivision agreement, if the authorizing bylaw is not approved, that could also, a little bit later in the process, also delay the issuance of building permits.
Counselor, does that help you?
So let's concentrate then on 17.5, put the holding provision on the back burner. So with regards to 17.5,
Are you talking about 117-Z544, that bill?
no. No, I'm talking about 17.5, the 2019-115, authorizing the execution of the subdivision agreement with
Okay,
Phase 2.
all right, thank you.
So through you, Madam Mayor, so the director made her comments. I'm wondering, are there units involved in that subdivision agreement that are currently already on hold?
Go ahead, Ms. Dale.
Through you, Madam Mayor, in regards to the councillor's question, so within Vista Ridge Phase 2, there is a block of land that, sorry, not a block of land, but there are a number of lots in the most southwest corner of that subdivision, Vista Ridge Phase 2, that do require some upgrading to the pumping station to be done before development can proceed on those lots. Those works are expected to commence sometime next year.
Counselor?
So through you, Madam Mayor, I appreciate the director's comments. I'm wondering if the CEO could comment. Again, I don't want to put the municipality in any type of jeopardy here where we get into a legal, situation with the developer, but I'm just quite frankly thinking that, we have some leverage here, and if we don't use this leverage, we continue to be told something's going to happen that's not happening. This is continuing to perpetuate itself, that has gone on for quite some time. And I'm wondering if the CEO can comment on where he feels we are with this, with the developer. Because I would hate to see us give up our leverage here and this park not be built in 2020. And quite frankly, that is my concern as we move into the winter here, that dirt is going to still be there midsummer of next year, and we will not get this park built next year.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. CAO?
Through you, Madam Mayor, just confirming with the clerk whether or not we do need to enter into camera. I think the comments that I would provide council on the two different elements of this is that council can defer and/or choose to take a position on each and every one of these. My thought would be, and my recommendation would be, the holding provision as it relates to the previous phase is not something that I'd recommend. There are probably pending sales, which could be delayed. I think that in and of itself probably opens us up to potential litigious action. So my thought would be on that particular piece. I think specific to deferring the execution of the subdivision agreement, so that's 17.5 on your motions. I think, I'm probably less concerned about that in terms of whether the potential risks and outcomes. I would suggest that if you're going to do that, we defer it to the January committee, and during that time, we can have a conversation with Lizani Homes and receive some status updates. I wouldn't recommend doing it any more than that in terms of that provision, but those would be my comments without going into camera and probably getting into more details. But definitely within council's hands should you require more than that. So I recommend going forward with 17.4. And if you wish to defer back to staff 17.5 relative to engaging in more conversations and getting some clarification, then we can do that.
Is that your intention now?
It is. I would really like to see this deferred and to give the CAO an opportunity to continue the negotiations with the developer to make sure that he understands that it's paramount that this dirt gets moved so that we can continue with the builder of the park, specifically in the spring of 2020 to meet our long overdue completion. So I would request that, Madam Mayor, through you.
Madam Clerk, the terminology here is that this motion is being referred. Thank you. All right. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm going to read this motion again. Councillor Patriva, do you have something different to add to the discussion? It sounds like we're moving in a good direction here.
Something completely
Different?
Another one, so I'm. okay, so
Another
read
one?
that, yeah.
We'll do this one, and then I'll have you on the list here. All right, I have a motion moved by Councillor Brunet and seconded by Councillor Patriva that leave be given to approve the following bylaws: 2019-111, 2019-112, 2019-113, 2019-114, 2019-115. 2019-116 Z543, 2019-118, and 2019-121. What has been removed is 2019-117 Z544, zoning bylaw amendment, remove H for Vista Ridge Phase 1. That is removed from this motion. Councillor Patriva, what would you like to speak to?
Thanks, Your Worship. 17.4, 2019-114. Sorry, after making you read all that.
2019-114?
Yes,
Authorized site plan agreement with 239-8804 Ontario Inc.
yes.
Go ahead, Council.
Yeah, just curious about this. So my understanding and conversation with Councilor Brunet today on a couple of these items is this is a commercial gas station and convenience store on Ontario Street. And it seems, in my mind, counterintuitive or counterproductive to what we're trying to do with the kind of intensification on Ontario Street, given the GO station pending arrival. You know, we've got some condominiums going, we've got, you know, live and work units being proposed, and this, in my mind, doesn't fit with that mold, so just curious about it.
All right. Mr. Kirkopoulos, who is best to speak to it? All right. Ms. Dale, would you please comment on the councillor's query?
Through you, Madam Mayor, in regards to the councillor's question, when it comes to site plan approval, if something is permitted in the zoning bylaw currently, and somebody applies for a site plan approval application to permit it for a use that's permitted in the zoning bylaw, it's appropriate for it to go forward because under the current zoning bylaw, it's permitted. I do recognize that there is the GO secondary plan, the zoning bylaw is being updated, and over time, there will be changes to the Ontario Street corridor, but the difficulty is the existing zoning permits the use.
You looking for more discussion on this, Counselor?
Well, just, and again, it's the murky waters of planning. Just because it's allowable at its time doesn't mean going down the road it's the right thing to do, given everything that's on the table taking place. You know, this piece could be bundled with another property and achieve the vision and end game that we're really looking for, so if there's...
If you just give me a moment, I'm going to, Mr. Kirkopoulos, were you able to listen out of your other ear to what the councillor was speaking to, and do you have any advice for us on this?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I was able to, I think, pick up part of the conversation and part of the comments that Councillor Pachariva made and that Director Dale responded to in terms of looking at the GO secondary precinct and the type of development and the type of projects we want coming forward. If the councillor could repeat his question, that'll give me more time to think about it. And I could probably muster up an answer for the councillor. But I do concur with Director Dale's comments in terms of the types of businesses, the types of services we want in that area, and the existing zoning in that particular area. And I do think it fits, and there is an allowance within our bylaw and our planning and zoning provisions for that to go forward. But I can understand the councillor's concern in terms of a gas station or that type of service. So if the councillor would ask me the question again, I will see if I can provide some more clarity.
Would you like to do that,
Yes, I will, Your Worship. Thank you very much. So, question to Mr. Kirkopoulos. So, with respect to this commercial gas station and convenience store development that's seeking site plan control, in the overall picture, given the intensification due to the GO station secondary plan, is it a prudent path to go down? You know, given that the live-work units, given the intensification we're seeking, you know, for the better sake, a single-tier unit on a piece of prime land that could easily be bundled with a property to the north or south of it to create a vision which we're trying to seek. Is that the best use? Given that it's allowable, but knowing the end game.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So definitely a good question. Now that I've grasped the totality of the question, I mean, I think at the end of the day, there's a couple of ways I'd answer the question. Is it the ideal in terms of that particular location? And I think would we rather see a development that is of a higher density that looks to support our move towards higher order transit and GO Transit? I would tell you probably no. Do we have a mechanism by which we can, I think, appeal, defer, not move forward with it, considering it is a permitted use and allowable in the zoning bylaw? I think that's where we're challenged with this particular, both the timing and when the project has come forward. And so I think, you know, our desire and our hope within our economic development strategy and what we're doing is to continue to push and move forward and put options in front of business interests so that they can do a higher sort of development in that particular area, a more significant type of development, can do some of that land assembly. But my caution or my comment would be, I don't know if I have the tools by which to give council advice not to allow it to move forward.
Thank you very much. So, having said that, we've got to put some more tools in your toolbox, Mr. Kirkopoulos.
Thank you very much, Councillor. And now we have Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And on that, on that item, so through you to the director, so we're in the process of a zoning bylaw review. and expecting that our zoning bylaw review will be done, you know, in 2020 sometime. And from a change of zoning, does the secondary plan now take on a stronger position on that particular piece of property? And I guess not knowing exactly where this is, you know, if it's down on the north side or north end of it's not? Okay. I just would question another gas station, you know, in that area, but I don't know where this is. So just a question around the zoning bylaw review, and does that change the discussion? Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Kathleen? Please.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So although the official plan may be changed, you also have to change the zoning bylaw. So the zoning bylaw changes are in the works. Those, if all goes well, will hopefully be in place sometime next year. The other thing you have to keep in mind is with any sort of zoning process, there's always a possibility of appeal. So if you start removing uses, any particular landowner has also the opportunity to appeal that sort of bylaw. So in regards to, from not being a lawyer, but from years of experience, when you have an official plan, you do the zoning to implement the official plan. But if there's a gap there, the zoning is going to take precedence. So if the site plan application was refused, but they had zoning in place, they could appeal their refusal of the site plan, and they would probably be successful because the zoning permits it.
And I would take from that, through you, Madam Mayor, that there's no appetite for deferring till such time as zoning bylaws are finished. Through you, Madam Mayor, to the director.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the mayor's question, to the councillor's question. Just to give you another example of the cannabis intern control bylaw. So the only other tool that's in place that council would have if they wanted to outright not allow any development that's subject to the secondary plan would be an interim control bylaw that would leave everything as is until such time as new zoning is in place.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dale. Councillor Renee, is your question on this matter? I'm just checking.
No, it's not. I just wanted to make sure, because if I think I heard you correctly, when you were reading the upcoming motion, you had mentioned that that 17.7 was going to be removed and deferred, but it's actually 17.5. So hopefully that change has been made. And I apologize because the clerk probably thought by the emails that that's what we were going to, but based on the Director of Planning and the CEO's recommendation that we not touch the removal of the H, that is the removal and deferral we're looking for is 17.5, 2019-115, and not 17.7.
That's correct, and the clerk was paying such close attention that she's now put it all into one motion.
Wonderful. I love happy endings.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Mikulik.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Ms. Dale. The applicant towards this application that we're looking at that Councillor Pachariva has brought up, has the applicant made application for any CIP grants or any improvement grants whatsoever?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor's question, no, the applicant hasn't made any request for CIP grants.
Okay, very good, thank you.
All right, no more questions. I'm going to read this again, and everything's in the one motion, so when we're done, we're done. Moved by Councillor Brunei and seconded by Councillor Pachariva that leave be given to approve the following bylaws. 2019-111 Fees and Charges 2020 bylaw. 2019-112 water and wastewater rates and charges, 2020 bylaw. 2019-113 regional operation of Town of Lincoln Municipal Cemeteries, name amendment. 2019-114 authorized site plan agreement with 2398804 Ontario Inc. 2019-115 authorize the execution of a subdivision agreement with 2410002 Ontario Inc., Vista Ridge Phase 2, and referred back to staff for review. 2019-116 Z543 zoning bylaw amendment, remove the H for Cherry Heights extension. 2019-118 amend the interim control bylaw cannabis. 2019-121 procedural bylaw. 2019-117-2544 zoning bylaw amendment, remove H for Vista Ridge Phase 1. Your pleasure on the motion. All those in favor? None opposed. The motion is carried. Madam Clerk, could I have a Kleenex? Thank you. Okay. Now, I have a motion moved by Councillor Timmers and seconded by Councillor Reimer that leave be given to approve the following bylaws. 2019-119 official plan amendment Vineland Growers Cooperatives. 2019-120-Z545 zoning bylaw amendment Vineland Growers Cooperative. Councillor Renjima has declared an interest here. All those, your pleasure on the motion, all those in favor? None opposed, the motion is carried. And I have a motion moved by Councillor McPherson and seconded by Councillor Mikulik that leave be given to approve the following bylaws. 2019-112, authorize an easement for a sanitary sewer from Irene and James Bucknell, with Councillor Reimer declaring an interest. Your pleasure on the motion, all those in favor? Wait a minute, just a moment. I thought Councillor Renjima was coming through the day. Okay. Councillor, this is 2019-122, authorize an easement for a sanitary sewer from Irene and James Bucknell. Your pleasure on the motion, all those in favor? There's none opposed, the motion is carried. And I have a motion moved by Councillor Reimer and seconded by Councillor Timmers that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 2019-123, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held Monday, December 16th, 2019, being read a first, second, and third time. That bylaw number 2019-123 be enacted and passed, and that the mayor and clerk sign and seal the said bylaw. Your pleasure on the motion? None opposed, the motion is carried. Are there any announcements from any members of council this evening? There being none, I want to, Councillor Renjima. I'm going to have to be doing the double scan here, I can see. Councillor Renjima.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. December 3rd was International Day of Persons with Disabilities, and we raised the flag that was supplied by the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee. Mayor Easton and Councillors Timmers and McPherson attended. The point of raising the flag, which was flown for 1 week, is to remind people to keep front of mind the fact that most of us function quite easily on a day-to-day basis, going about our business working at our jobs and taking care of our families and traveling, etc., without too much difficulty. But there are many people, as many as 25% of us, that have to undertake all of these activities with a disadvantage, be it an inability to walk or walk properly, an inability to see or see properly, an inability to hear or hear properly, or even an inability to function in a high stimulation, noise, light environment, etc. Thank you to the councillors and Mayor Easton for attending, and thank you to Laurie Laird and anyone else that was involved in coordinating the flag raising, because this helps demonstrate that we do understand, and that we understand that we have to view all of those considerations that are presented to us as a council through the accessibility lens among all the others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there certainly was a good turnout that day, and I must say Connie's name came up on more than one occasion, and if she watches this at all, we do miss you. You provided some great input to policy direction at the town, and I know she would have been there for sure. Anyone else? I'm going to look 3 times now because it happened so quickly. I would like to issue an invitation to the public to attend the Town of Lincoln Levy on January the 4th at 2 p.m. at the Fleming Center. It will be our 50th anniversary as a Town of Lincoln, the amalgamation of the Town of Beamsville, the the Township of Clinton, and the Township of Louth. We have a great deal to congratulate ourselves for, and because amalgamation is never easy. Maybe we're just starting to come into our own now. It wasn't very popular at the time, I do recall. Also, I want to, I know that I spoke to this earlier, but I want to, at the end of this month, on December 31st, Councillor Brunei will finish a 6 months experience as a deputy mayor. He's probably happy to see the end of it. However, Councillor, I want to personally thank you for agreeing to take on the extra 3 months, for your availability, which was extremely important at that time, for supporting council's direction, for taking alternate views, and asking lots of questions. And I appreciate being able to have you there as a steady right hand. I had no worries. I knew that if I wasn't here, that everything would be moving along just fine. So thank you very much for that, and you should be very proud of your performance. Also, I want to congratulate all of council. This ends our first year together. These are always interesting times. We're evolving as a council, I think, in a very positive way. It doesn't mean that we don't step in each other's toes from time to time, but I think that the way we are moving is the better way. It is a good way, and we can look forward to having a lot more debate and meaningful discussion on behalf of our constituents in the new year. So ladies and gentlemen who are looking in on us this evening, as we go about our lives, November, December, and beyond, there are many holidays and many celebrations that we celebrate with our families, each to their own in this holiday season. And on behalf of council, I wish you very best. To councilors, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. Thank you all. And for the staff, a special thank you. It doesn't seem to get any easier for the staff, but I think we're lucky to have all of you. You've led us well, Mr. CAO. You've provided great guidance for us, kept us on the right track, and for that we're very thankful. So thank you all very much. Thank you, sir. The meeting is adjourned.